You have been called
to do good,
to feed the hungry,
to love with action,
to be a light in the darkness,
to love your neighbor,
to teach wisdom,
to walk humbly,
to love mercy,
to care for the least of these.
Will you accept the call?
This is our city.
Our mission.
Visit eriecitymission.org/volunteer to accept the call today.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA 039007.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
This is an important conversation as we talk about the Big Check event and the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. We're just super excited about all of this going on here in our studio here. We want to welcome from my left to my right, we've got Aaron Lewis of Spear Break Defense. Good to see you, Aaron.
Good to see you. Thank you.
And we've got Rebecca Styn of Blind Tiger Spirit Free Cocktails.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
And, of course, from the Ben Franklin Technology Partners, it's our good friend Brian Slawin. Good to see you, sir.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Joel. Thanks.
All righty. So let's get started here because you kind of are the ringmaster, the circus star. How you put this all together. So explain what's going on here.
Well, so every quarter we're fortunate to find the best entrepreneurs across the country, and they all happen to be here in Northwest Pennsylvania.
That's awesome.
Right.
And those entrepreneurs come and say, hey, we need some help. Like, we need some guidance, some coaching, some mentorship. You got any cash? And so we write these really, really big checks every quarter. We were here a quarter or so ago with Tom Laird and Aaron Kerner from their AI-based companies, and now we're reinvesting in both of these great companies, Spear Break Defense, which Aaron and his team are building, and Blind Tiger Spirit Free Cocktail, which Rebecca, what's your name again? Rebecca and her team are building to great places. So that's what we do. It's the Big Check event. So today is the official Big Check event here on Talk Erie on the Joel Natale Show, and then tomorrow we're going to be at the Penn State Barron campus in their Innovation Commons to do a Big Check event presentation for Aaron, and then at Room 33 in the afternoon for Rebecca and Blind Tiger Spirit Free Cocktail.
Tell us a little bit about the criteria, because again, we're starting to get into kind of rarefied air. These entrepreneurs have developed their product, their services, their business plan to, let's just face it, not everybody gets to this level, right?
No, definitely not. These are real numbers. Like you'll see on the check that the investment into Spear Break Defense is an additional $200,000. That's a real number when you start to get to there. But the only reason we get there is because of the work that Aaron has been able to do, he and his team, to get to this place where we can put in another 200 to help him grow. And he'll tell all about the contracts in the military and all the great things that he's doing. And similar with Rebecca, it's actually $195,000 for a blind. I know it only says 190 on the check, but believe me, the one you'll get, the real one, 195. Is awesome that what she's up to, 1,300 shelves all across the globe, Royal Caribbean, baseball parks, you got to be a real good entrepreneur to get up to this level.
And is this a grant? Is this a loan? What's the nature of the capital investment? Are you getting equity in these firms?
Yeah. So We always start, I'd say 95% of the time, we start as a convertible note, which for most people will look like a loan.
Yeah.
And it can convert into equity, which is what we've done with both of these companies, because we believe that the company is going on a ride, and we want to take that ride with them. And so we're happy not to get the debt payment, but we'd rather stand by for the exit, which both of these companies will do, or the great things that they're going to do. Our focus really is helping companies take our capital and then grow. And our number one criteria really is jobs creation and spending that money wisely to help do that. So these are investments. This is kind of like Shark Tank, but not nearly as unfriendly as Shark Tank. We say yes a lot.
So let's start with you, Aaron, for a second, because probably the idea of getting $200,000, 5 years ago when we talked the last time, would have been like, wow, right? I mean, because you were probably looking for, can I get $5 or $10,000 for a little marketing or to put on a website? Or am I accurate on that? Or
yeah. So our very first investment from Ben Franklin was back in 2012, actually, and that's where we were at. We were at the, hey, let's do 10,000 here, and let's hit some milestone or achieve some milestones. Let's go back and do 50,000, make some prototypes, and take the technology, validate it, make sure we can manufacture it. So from that point forward, we've been focused on, driving revenue through primarily the Department of Defense, who are early adopters of the technology. And we're at the point now where $200,000 investment is next level for us. So that growth curve from, hey, let's, figure out what we're doing with a few $1,000s, high risk, high reward, to, the growth stage investment. That's really, that blows me away, because going back to the point you made, we're 4 or 5 months now from celebrating our 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
In business. And there's a lot of data out there that suggests, over 90% of startups don't make it past the first year. So to be here 5 months, 6 months out from celebrating a 10-year anniversary is huge. And we could not do that without the support of our investors, especially Ben Franklin Technology Partners, with all the tutelage and all the support that they provide, and then this recent investment.
Does the investment from Ben Franklin give a imprimatur, give some gravitas to an organization like yours to say, okay, if they're willing to put skin in the game, how about you, private investor, giving us a chance?
Yeah, so what it really does for us strategically is it helps us bridge the valley of death that we've been navigating with the Department of Defense through contracts. So when an investor puts money into our organization, that's a vote of confidence for, say, the Department of Defense, who's trying to transition our technology to the next level. That's saying, hey, they're going out there raising funds. Other people believe in this technology. It's easier to sell on taxpayers and congressional leaders, hey, this needs to go. Our customers within the Department of Defense believe in the technology. Folks outside of the government believe in the technology. We've matured it to the point where we need some serious horsepower to get into production to support a fleet of vehicles.
Let's talk about what the Spear Brakes Defense is and what it does. It's literally foundationally a new brake technology, right?
It is. So we have 3 issued patents here in the U.S. There's another one in the chute. But it is fundamentally different than disc or drum brakes. Those have been around since 1900, actually. So that was back when electricity was in its infancy. That's how old the technology is.
Yeah.
So fundamentally different sphere rotor with hemispherical pads that compress on an outside, brake surface. And then the key to that technology is that it can generate the same brake power, but with a much smaller diameter, which affords us the ability to change brake pads without wheel removal or tools. So you can just reach the side of your wheel well, change your pads. And then additionally, every time we design our brake technology for a vehicle platform, we design to bolt on. So we're not reverse engineering anything. And it helps the acceptance, reduce those barriers. So yeah, fundamentally different. New rotors, new brake pads. Those are all new verticals in the auto industry that we're trying to launch right here in Erie.
That's amazing.
Go
ahead. Yeah.
So, Aaron can tell a story about a 4-star general who gets underneath a Jeep. I don't know what he got under, and he literally changed these brakes in 15 minutes? Not even 15 minutes.
No, it was 2 minutes.
It was and a 4-star generally doesn't climb under a vehicle.
He was a 3-star, but what do we? Yeah. 3, 4. A general, a general.
220, 221, whatever it takes.
Yep.
But the story I like the best is, Aaron, you'll remember this, 7 or 8 years ago, you and I went to the Erie City Garage and met up with AJ Antalik. And they were this is when you were thinking, okay, maybe trash trucks were a vehicle or a way for you to go to market. And AJ and his team were dumbfounded on how simple this was. You literally pull a couple of cotter pins in, you swap out the brakes, and boom, you're done in 2, 3, 4 minutes. It was really, really impressive because I'd never seen the reaction of the customer live and in person like that. It was really, really impressive to see.
Yeah, and that's the reaction across the board, whether at military events or on the commercial side with refuse vehicles or emergency vehicles, or even on the rail side, freight rail side. The reaction's always the same. Literally the first thing, no matter who it is how can I get these on my car? So
wow,
we're getting there.
You're getting there. That's right. It's remarkable to think, because again, anybody, you have the experience of being in a combat zone, or and that's really where the pedal meets the metal, if you will, as far as seconds mean lives, and so if you have your brakes go out. Right. In a hostile environment, it's a big deal.
Yeah, right now the defense industrial base has a lot of gaps, more or less. But the key is, as a former commander, our metrics were readiness. So making sure our warfighters were ready at all times, and then our vehicles were ready at all times. And it's rare to have both.
Right, have both.
And then usually vehicles are deadlined and take weeks on end to fix and repair. So for a 18-year-old out of boot camp to go and do a brake pad swap out in the field in combat, that's next level. So
yeah, talk about how difficult it is to deal with the DoD.
How many days do we have?
I mean, who's in charge of procurement? Is that decentralized?
That's decentralized. It's a very, very challenging ecosystem. It starts with finding out who the decision makers are at certain levels, understanding the procurement cycle, understanding the congressional PALM cycle, and all of these things took me 7 or 8 years to figure out.
And you were an employee at one point.
Yeah, and that was a whole different side of it.
Sure,
I didn't realize, I was hoping that the procurement side was not as, tough as and bureaucratic as the soldier side. But,
right.
Yeah. So it's been a challenge, and fortunately, you just meet one person, they introduce you to another person, and then you just start triangulating data and questions and just keep asking questions like, if I want to do this, who do we talk to, right? And then that just keeps going and going, but it takes years to get through all those relationships. And finally, you get some champions within the organizations that want the technology, and as long as the technology delivers on what you say it delivers on, then things just start kind of snowballing.
What is the what's the biggest stumbling block that comes to this? I mean,
I think it's the procurement timeline. So the government takes forever to buy something.
So this is why you're talking about getting over that death valley.
Yeah. So you can get funding and get through the R&D phase of technology, but the government doesn't like to make a procurement decision until it's done with R&D. And unfortunately, when they make that decision, it takes 2 years to go through the congressional process. So if I spend 7 years developing this technology through small business innovation research grants, for example, that's what we went through, and I waited for them to make a decision and say, hey, we want this technology, we would have to wait another 2 years after our technology has gone through all the toll gates. And small businesses can't survive that cycle. Hence, folks like Ben Franklin who step up and help us bridge those valleys of death so that our technology doesn't die on the vine and our company doesn't shutter.
How many people working for you right now?
So we have 3 full-time.
Yeah.
That's including me. We're going to be hiring another full-time with this investment. Actually, 3 more with this investment over the next 15 months, 1 within the next 6 months. So
it's great to hear. Let's go to Rebecca Styn here at Blind Tiger Spirit Free Cocktails. Again, just like with Aaron's story, it's like you saw a need, you filled a need, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, there might be a market here. Is that kind of how the origin story goes?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was triggered by COVID, right?
Right.
It was more of a need to stay alive during COVID.
True.
But that being said, we had seen a gap in the market for options like these over the year, at least over that past year or so. And it was just a combination of serendipity and the pressing need to make it happen.
And so, again, the spirit-free cocktail, why spirit-free? Why did you start with a non-alcoholic drink?
Well, how much time do you have about Pennsylvania liquor laws?
So he's dealing with the DOD, you're dealing with PLCB.
Yeah, so honestly, we did start with non-alc intentionally because we knew that was more the innovation, right? Like, alcohol is saturated. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for growth in the alcohol sector, but it's so saturated, it's hard to break through the noise.
And you're not, you're not Ryan Reynolds or... I mean, it seems like anymore to start a liquor line, you have to be a superstar A-lister from Hollywood or something like that.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised at the number of famous people that are actually doing non-alcoholic beverages today.
Really?
Oh, it's insane. I mean, the money that's out there and the innovation that is seen in it is actually quite remarkable just in the last 2 to 3 years.
Wow. So you started out by serving these to-go drinks, these non-alcoholic drinks, at your former location at Room 33, and then that's like, hey, there's more demand here. So how did that go?
Yeah, honestly, like I tell people, I think I just woke up one day and in my insanity was like, oh, I wonder if I could bring this to market, just having seen how well it was doing, right? And honestly, intentionally, I did not think it would take off as quickly as it did. But, coming full circle and why we're here today, I had put all my money into Room 33. So it was going to be bootstrapped and small and see where it went. But then I went after the Ben Franklin Big Idea competition. And it was that funding, that unrestricted grant of it ended up being like $52,500 because I took home the People's Choice, which was really nice too. And because of that, it really kind of served as a catalyst to move it a lot quicker than I originally thought it would go.
Talk about consumer packaged goods. That is a heavy lift for anybody, right?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, it is, even though this market is more innovative, there's innovation in every element of consumer goods, right? Where, the people that are like the oat milks, the different milks that are out there, the plant-based meats, like there's always continued innovation. And then obviously you see we're trying to get away from all the artificial things that have been prevalent for us for, decades. So it's constantly out there. But it's a very saturated arena. And as Aaron pointed out, it has a very high failure rate. I mean, most brands don't survive a year, and it's constantly trying to break through the noise. And without having that famous backing or VC dollars that, millions, it's, you kind of have to just boldly keep stepping forward.
So again, another a superb entrepreneur story. COVID happens. Pennsylvania restricts takeout liquor, right? Which was, you were selling
at the beginning, yep.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Room 33,
yep.
That was your thing, right? You were 80% liquor sales. 90% liquor sales. Mm-hmm. And so Rebecca was I remember this conversation so clearly. She says, I refuse to fire my people. I refuse to fire my people. Well, she just figured out a way to make money. And the originally Blind Tiger was gummy bears.
It was gummy bears. Yes, I didn't realize we were going to go down that pathway today, but yes, it was. It actually had a name. I mean, we already had it incorporated. It was a funny idea that, I don't know if you've ever seen those little Sugar Fina, the clear plastic containers that have all the flavored gummy bears. They're not based here, but they do really well in high-end, like Nordstrom's and Macy's and everything like that. And we were going to do Prohibition bears. Like, they were going to be cocktail-flavored gummy bears. And, that was going to make us millions.
So she goes from absolutely refuse to fire my people to building this brand, to doing the innovative what do you call Lizzie what she does,
mixologist,
the mixology, right? The science behind all of that is figuring out how to make it taste like whatever it's supposed to taste like, and with no alcohol, just pure entrepreneurism and grit. Both of Aaron and Rebecca have this it quality, right? This thing that says we're gonna do this thing, and that's what it is. That so much.
Overcoming adversity,
because you're gonna have it.
But the other part is creative problem solving, isn't it? I mean, really, it comes to all of that.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA.
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America. And you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
I want to pick up with Rebecca again. Okay, you won the Big Check event. What was that now? 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2021. So we're in year 4.
Year 4. Mm-hmm. You won that $50,000. What did you use that for?
Well, I went on a really nice trip. And no. I used it for 3 things. It helped us get professional designs for our labels. We did a Kickstarter campaign as kind of a test market launch for us. So we created the video for that, and then we were able to set up a website so that consumers could buy things online.
And so, I mean, just that, you can blow through 50
Correct.
Gs.
Yeah.
I mean, is this what you're encountering every day throughout the Ben Franklin footprint? Is stuff costs money?
Oh, yeah. Sure,
like a lot of money.
A lot of money. And it's getting more expensive. No, what I encounter every single day are fabulous entrepreneurs, really interesting people with really creative and innovative ideas who just want help figuring it out, which is really the biggest part of what Ben Franklin does is, we write checks and we have big check events and we do the big idea contest that Rebecca won and all that. But what we really do is every day, phone calls, emails, help with things that they're struggling, our entrepreneurs are struggling with, getting that next step on the pathway. That's what we do. Mentorship, support, guidance, connections. And we write checks.
But people need to understand that to get to the level of where Aaron and Rebecca are, it's not very common, honestly.
No, it's very rare. As a matter of fact, Aaron, I think, was being generous. 90% plus companies fail within the first year. So for them to be celebrating 5 years and 10 years of being in business and being successful and paying their people and, marketing their product and doing all the stuff you do as an entrepreneur, no, it's spectacular. And these are 2, again, we've got a bunch of rock stars in our portfolio, but these are certainly 2 of the most brightest stars in our galaxy. Oh, I sound like Casey Kasem there for a second.
No, or Mr. White, the Playtone galaxy of stars, right?
These are 2 of the real rock stars that we have here today.
And not to try to destroy people's dreams, but sometimes, go with that idea as a side gig, as a side hustle, or it's going to take enormous sacrifice to get to the level of where Rebecca and Aaron are.
Well, it does, and it's all in all the time. And one of the things that I think Ben Franklin provides an unusual edge for the entrepreneurs that we get to work with are, so Aaron quoted, 90% of the companies will fail in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
For Ben Franklin, 75 to 80% of those companies are still alive 5 years later. So money's money, right? Green is green. But when you get all the other stuff that Ben Franklin provides support for, that's really what we think makes a huge difference and why they can hire people and do all the economic development activities that we're looking for while they're doing all of their entrepreneurial activities.
Rebecca, go with, from first Ben Franklin to now, what has been like the big heavy lifts for you? I would imagine just getting into the retail supply chain has got to be the toughest part.
It definitely is. But what's kind of fascinating about that is typically when brands start consumer packaged good brands, they do more direct to consumer versus retail because it is such a heavier lift to try to get into that. Somehow serendipitously, again, and I use that word a lot when it comes to this business, mainly because it makes me hopeful. But the retail factor really, there was, I kid you not, there was the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership had put out a newsletter the same month, I think, that I had won the Ben Franklin competition. And in that newsletter, there was a link to a group called the Navigator Lighthouse Foundation, which is based out in Southern California. And what they do is they support women and minority CPG entrepreneurs. And I reached out to them, became one of...
What's CPG?
Consumer packaged goods.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. Reached out to them, became one of their first cohort, and because of them, had a lot of opportunity to get into these retailers right out of the gate. So it's like there were a lot of great wins early on, and then there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of down. You talk about the valley of death in your own words, but that is just like the sustainability. Once you start real high, and then you get low, and it's just kind of tempering, like wading waters until other things come up, and it's being able to withstand that, I don't know, not animosity, but ambiguity and unknown in between the times that things happen, I think is the hardest part.
Talk about profitability and scalability. There's a sweet sauce there. It's almost like baseball. Does the thrower throw 100-mile-an-hour fastballs all the time, or does it take multiple pitches in order to be a successful pitcher? I would imagine it's very much the same with you. When do we want to grow? When do we want to stay put? That whole thing.
Yeah, and that honestly has a lot to do with the investment too, right? If you're bootstrapping everything and not having investment dollars, you can take that extra time to kind of grow at the level that you want to. But when you get investors, they want to see that growth. They want to see 100, 200, 500x, year over year over year. And that's when profitability becomes a little bit of a longer term play, because you're investing a lot of dollars to make a lot of noise in a market that's saturated in order to stand out from other brands in order to make those big dollars in the end. And even then it's just, it's really, it's a crapshoot. I couldn't think of another word. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get there, but you can do that. Profitability is huge. If we didn't have investment dollars, I probably could have been profitable in the first year, but we're talking like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 profitable, right? So it just depends on what that looks like for individual brands and where they want to go.
Taking money out of your business, is that happening yet finally, or
you mean like
your salary?
Taking money out, like
to actually live on the business?
Yeah, it's very small in compared to what I used to make.
Okay.
It's enough just to survive for me right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Carl Nicolia, who runs PS Energy, right, our friend, he says he was making a pitch to us for an investment, which we made many years ago, and he answered a question like, when does your company become profitable? And his answer was brilliant. He said, well, we could be profitable tomorrow, but I need to keep putting money into my company to grow it for the long term, so I can, like he has, 25 people on staff and is going all across the globe actually, to do what they do. So I think that's probably a similar answer. Rebecca could have grown slower, but she insisted on putting her money back into the company to grow for the long term. Probably the same thing with Aaron.
Yeah, talk about this, Aaron, because you're in a different mode where you're trying to get to scale, you're trying to get to production, and you're just working on that. Talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, per our contracts, actually, we're trying to increase several things. One is their technology readiness, so that it's accepted and it's safe and it functions the way it needs to function on these military vehicles. But also manufacturing readiness, which is another metric a lot of people don't talk about, and that's, can you repeat your processes over and over to quality standards, repeatability, reproducibility with very low defects. So we're always growing. So we're, again, to Brian's point on what Carl Nicoli says, like, yeah, we probably could turn profit, but then everything else comes to a screeching halt. The other thing that's driving us to not drive profit is a lot of our contracts, we have caps on what we can make. So the defense contracts, particularly through the SBIR phases, are 7%. You can't charge more than 7% profit on your contracts, which is intentional to drive investment back into the technology and your people and grow at that rate. So
they're kind of telling you how much on the expense side there should be. Wow.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you get like a firm fixed price contract, you can make whatever money you want to make, but you're always reinvesting that money into the company.
When it comes to this kind of a product here, when you get the switch flipped, let's say somebody says, I'm going to adopt your brakes on this whole product line, or in all of my certain level of vehicles in the military. Does that mean you just become instantly incredibly successful and profitable? Is it literally a flip switch?
No, it's something we're working through right now. We're working with a slew of people, our congressional leaders, local officials, and of course our customer and the program offices. And it literally takes 18 to 24 months to get that switch flipped on. So we started that process 12 months ago, and we're about 12 months out from seeing that come to a reality. So when the 26 defense bill passes, we should be in it for our production dollars, but then it takes about 6 months to get through contract negotiations, and then you have a 6-month onboarding period where the government comes in and audits your supply chain, all the way down to tier 3, I think, to make sure that what you say is being made, and it follows all the way through to the final product on delivery. So it's a long onboarding process.
Again, we're talking to Aaron Lewis there from Spear Brake Defense, Rebecca Styn from Blind Tiger Spirit Free Cocktails, and also Brian Slawin from the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. Let's talk about the Erie impact here. Now, Rebecca, are you able to do what you do in Erie, or how much outside help do you need for packaging and shipping and so on?
From a production standpoint, no. Not at this juncture. That's not off the table for the future. But we use a co-manufacturer that's in Clintonville, Wisconsin. Their capability is pretty vast.
When you say co-manufacturer, are they making cheese and Blind Tiger? Or it's a joke.
No.
It's a joke. Sorry. It's my one Wisconsin joke.
Yes.
That's my one. Yes.
No, but they do have a slew of beverage brands, of course, and so we do use them from a shipping perspective and packing perspective. It is still currently me. However, I do explore other alternative outlets, and actually oftentimes these companies come as references through Ben Franklin, and one of them right now, there's a 3PL company that is it Idea Foundry? Am I getting that correct?
I think that sounds right.
Okay, and they're based in Pennsylvania, and they're going beyond a little more beyond the 3PL facet.
3PL is
like third-party logistics, like somebody who can handle all the fulfillment and everything for us. So our business model is still heavily retail and distribution, and we're shipping a lot of product directly from our co-manufacturer to the retailers or distributor partners around the country.
Right.
But if we get more direct to consumer, that's when a 3PL would be beneficial for us.
Talk about Royal Caribbean. I love this story.
Yeah, well, okay, so my
that.
favorite word, right? Serendipity. Most of the projects I've pursued, 99% have been declined, right? Like I've gone after different airlines, different cruise lines, different retailers. Like you're not far enough in. You don't have the velocity yet. Like in different retails, like Wegmans has been our biggest retail partner to date, which has been an amazing partnership. But I really want to get more into the hospitality arena, more in bars and restaurants, because I love the ease of our product, right? It's real quick and simple and can be a mixer, or it's great alone. And as NA versions pop up, non-alcoholic versions come up in the market, it's going to be more popular, and you're going to want things that are easier. So cruise ships, for example. And I had a friend, a colleague, again, who just happened to know the buyer for Royal Caribbean, the food and beverage director for Royal Caribbean, sends him an email and says, hey, you got to check out this brand. And then this guy says, well, we happen to be looking at non-alcoholic brands next week. If she wants to overnight us a package, we'll throw her in the mix. Having no faith that would happen. And honestly, within 7 days, this guy emails me and he says, we're going to take 3 of your varietals on board Royal Caribbean. And it was like, I've jumped through endless hoops and I can't get an answer back. But I think it just goes to show you when things are meant to be, they'll be, right? And it's hard, it's wading those waters in between.
Aaron, talk about, the Erie factor with your proposed production.
Yeah. So we've been blessed. Our business model is production kitting. So we internally don't produce anything. We have a distributed supply chain across the Great Lakes, cast suppliers out west, brake friction pad suppliers in Ohio. It's kind of like that's where the center of gravity is for that. But we do a lot of machining around here, which is Erie specialty. Our close business partners where we incubate out of, Red Dog Industries on the east side, absolutely instrumental in us being able to posture big but remain small and agile. That's the factor, right? Ben Franklin, located here in Pennsylvania, tied to Penn State University, that's the X factor. The workforce, skilled labor, that's the X factor. Just the knowledge that everyone brings to the table from different facets has provided us the platform and the foundation to be successful over a long period of time.
Let's grab a quick phone call. Hi, Phil. You're live. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Fascinating conversation. Hi, Rebecca. I hope you're doing well. That's a great story about the cruise line, which once again proves the 1,000-year-old thing that it's not what you know, it's who you know. Isn't that amazing? Still. I'm curious from both of you guys. At our plant, we have 2 people that work full-time at our plant just to handle compliance. One spends their day all day dealing with OSHA compliance. The other spends their day dealing with customer compliance. And to make it a long story short, if we're shipping a certain part to New York, it's a 1-pager. Same parts going to California, it's 12 pages. I just was curious of both of you to have this feeling that it's a lot of regulations, over-regulations. How do you guys handle that? And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane.
So it's a little different. So that's the commercial side. On the defense side, a lot of things are laid out for us. We just have to comply with all the paperwork. We have a very small team, so we wear the hats. I primarily focus on the government regulation side. Our lean leader, Jason Pentia, handles a lot of the ISO compliance, shipping compliance. He's in charge of our supply chain. So we kind of like tag team all of that. The best advice I can provide is we are so process based. So it takes a few weeks to get the process laid out. But once we lay that process out, we do everything we can to automate as much as possible. Because we are so small, we can't be doing that every single day, shipping things to different places and going through all of those challenging hurdles and barriers. So I think it's a little bit different for us being in serving the Department of Defense versus serving commercial customers, although eventually we're going to have to deal with that monster. But yeah, everything we do is we try and we write down what we're doing, and then we try and automate as much of it as possible with few human touch points, just because that's the only way we can survive. So my challenge would be map out the process, do a value stream map of the process for those compliance, figure out how much can be automated, automate it with human control touch points for quality control.
do you have to deal with FDA regs and all that stuff? Or?
You have to do that before you put anything in the market. So you get like process authority letter reviews done by qualified individuals, and then you get those letters. And then if I had my own manufacturing plant, it would be a whole different story, and the quality controls that would be associated with that. But the fact that I use one that's accredited and has their own certifications, it's a much easier lift.
Do you think that that we need to bring some of this manufacturing part of these businesses here to town? I mean, again, we have a food and beverage heritage. I'm thinking of Vandy Caps and so on. I mean, frozen foods. I think frozen pizza was invented in Erie or something like that. I mean, could we use a co-working space for food and beverage? There's been chats about this for years, right? I mean,
there really have been, and there currently isn't a groundswell of CPG companies to stand up this kind of co-man facility. It would be awesome. I've had numerous conversations with the folks at the Erie County Redevelopment Authority about what can we do to bring more of the Rebecca Styn type companies into the city of Erie. It's something we continue to talk about and work on. We have our eye on the ball, but right now there's just not a lot of momentum there.
Yeah.
I just want to tag on to that answer, though. I do think that there is opportunity to seek it out. It just depends on, not seek it out here locally, but oftentimes these co-manufacturing facilities are bringing in companies from all around the U.S. and depending on where they're based. And there is not a huge opportunity in Northwest or Eastern Pennsylvania even to do this type of production. So I think that there would be a demand, but again, it's a demand you have to go and build from the outside and bring it in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you would be the co-manufacturer for several people, literally 500 miles in all directions, or something like that.
It could be something like that.
Kind of almost more of a different kind of business. It's interesting. The as you're growing, it seems like the challenges get more intricate, get more complex, yet the risk reward ratio is better, isn't it? I mean, like, you're on the cusp of getting that big DoD contract, and certainly you're in Publix and Wegmans and like these big brand grocery store.
Yeah, we're not in Publix yet. We're Total Wine and More. We have some stadium representation and everything like that. But it's continuing to build that groundswell enough for sustainability.
I think the thing Rebecca forgets, and also Aaron forgets, is they came to us with an idea almost literally on a napkin. And actually, Aaron's idea was on a napkin. And they've been able to build companies that are on 1,300 retail shelves across the globe, or will soon be on the latest fighter vehicle for the DoD. Right. I mean, the journey that they've taken, the path that they've gone on, and the effort that they've put into it, not forgetting their family or their children or their dog or their moms or whatever. I mean, it's an all-in when you do this. Like, everyone's kind of in. And it takes leaders like Aaron and Rebecca to really put forth a vision and the guts and the grit to get it done. And that's why we're so proud of what these two companies, these two entrepreneurs are doing, and why we look for, at the Ben Franklin Technology Partners, we look for more. Like, we want to invest in the next Rebecca and the next Aaron and the next Carl and the next Aaron Kerner and all and Tom Laird. These are fabulous people who are doing really interesting things.
And I believe I'll be speaking on behalf of both of us. We would love to mentor the next Rebecca and Aaron.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's something that we foster or we encourage our experienced entrepreneurs, our experienced company leaders to help the next generation. That's super, super important.
Again, the more people, especially young people, that can say, hey, I have found a place here in Erie, Pennsylvania, to set my roots, to grow my company, to raise my kids. This is how Erie became Erie in the first place. Mm-hmm. And you guys are the trailblazers for, we're talking now, the mid 21st century. It's pretty remarkable stuff. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Again, Aaron Lewis, Spear Brake Defense. What's your website, Aaron?
www.spherebrakes.com.
Rebecca Styn, Blind Tiger Spirit Free. I can't say it.
You can
Spirit
just say Blind Tiger.
Blind Tiger. What's the website?
It's blindtigerspiritfree.com.
And of course, the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. Best place to get a hold of you there, Brian.
Yeah, benfranklin.org. Select the county that you're in. You'll get to the right place.
Thank you, folks.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.